everyone, and welcome to today's YNAB webinar. My name is Erin, and I will be running today's session. Really glad that you guys could join us today on this beautiful Friday. What you have signed up for is our Introduction to YNAB course. This course is designed to give you a good, solid, fundamental understanding of the basics of YNAB. We're going to be going over the YNAB method today and how you can get started, and we will definitely have some time for questions as well. What you're looking at right now is the GoToWebinar viewer, and you're viewing a presentation that I've set up for us. And you should see a second screen, and that's the GoToWebinar control panel. And it's really important that you find it because that's where the question window is, and that's how you're going to get questions over to me. You won't be able to speak to me through a microphone or a telephone line. We have a lot of people here today, and it would be a little crazy. So you'll just type your questions in that chat window. Now, if you can't find the chat window, you may find that it's been minimized, and you just want to click. You might just be seeing this very skinny little tab right here, and you just need to click on the arrow to expand it, and then you should see where you can type. So let's just start with an audio test. I always like to start like that so that I know that I'm not alone in cyberspace and that the audio is working okay, and so that I know that you know how to get a question over to me. So why don't we have everybody just type over their first name. Maybe tell me where you're listening from today. I'm hosting today from the state of Maine on the east coast of the United States. So let me know where you are and let me know how the sound is. Welcome to Michael from Texas. We've got Pam here from Nebraska. Alex joins us from Virginia. We have Jonathan also from Texas. Lorraine is here from the UK. We've got Carrie here from Tennessee. Jordan from Cincinnati. Karen's here from South Carolina. Chrissy joins us from DC. Welcome. Well, that's great. We've got actually a pretty small class today, which is great for you guys. I've got Amber joining us from New Jersey. Lots of East Coast folks today. So that's great. If you have any problem with the audio at any point, or if you think I'm going a little too quickly, don't be shy. Be sure and let me know, okay? That would be super helpful. So I will leave time for questions at the end. I've got that built into the hour we have today. However, I am going to ask you to hold questions until I ask for them. I also have a lot of content that I want to get through, and I want to make sure that I do get through all of that. So you'll hear me ask you to hold questions from time to time. That would be great. You're absolutely welcome to take notes if you'd like to, but I am going to give you a link to some other materials that you can download after class, so you don't have to take notes if you don't want to. This is the outline. This is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what a budget is. A lot of people have some preconceived notions about that aren't really on target. We like to make a budget a much more positive thing. We're going to talk about problems and solutions, specifically problems you may have had when trying to budget. And I'm going to show you how you can get started in 3 easy steps. I'll do a demonstration of the software, and if you're new to YNAB or you've been around for a bit, maybe you're looking for a restart today, we do have a new version that's been out since the end of June, YNAB 4, and YNAB 4 comes with Cloud Sync. It will sync to your mobile device or other desktop computers or laptops, and I'm going to be demonstrating that as well. And then we'll take questions. That's the plan. Now, I can't do everything in the span of an hour, and trust me when I tell you that I have tried. So these are some things I won't be covering in detail today, but we do have some other support resources, and I'll make sure that you get access to those before you leave. So I want to start by just looking at the word budget and playing a little bit of a word association game. If I was to say to you the word dog and then say, what's the first word that comes to your mind? Somebody might say cat, right? And there's a whole bunch of words that might immediately be triggered when you hear the word dog. I want to know, and I want you to type over to me, what word or words immediately come to your mind when you hear the word budget. Now, you can't scare me. I've heard everything, okay? So just type over some responses. I'm kind of curious what people are thinking about. We've got money, complicated. Savings, hard, I've heard that before. Planning, drag, watch out, straitjacket, that's a good one. I've actually heard that one before. We've got 2 of those today. Lack of money, restriction, that's a big one. Getting control, organized, organizing. Great, great answers. But nobody said anything fun, Nobody said awesome. Nobody said I can't wait to budget. Nobody said anything positive. So we kind of want to look at that, because the way that we like to think about it and the way we hope we can get you to think about it is it's just a plan. It's just a plan for your money. And I can absolutely promise you I'm not going to try to impose my plan on you. Everybody's situation is different, and you get to set up your own plan. And it's a good idea to go into your financial situation with a plan. Just like chess, you wouldn't go into a chess game without a strategy. And that's what this is. It's just a strategy for taking control of your financial situation. But like I said, there are a lot of problems associated with budgeting. A lot of people try and fail, and they feel like they can't make it work for them. Maybe you're like this guy, right? And you just head in the clouds and you haven't been paying attention at all. And then all of a sudden you were kind of forced to pay attention and you had no idea what was going on, right? Or maybe you're like this guy, deliberately trying not to know what's going on, right? Avoiding it by sticking your head in the sand. I think I was more like the giraffe in that I just wasn't paying attention, I just wasn't paying attention. And that lack of awareness is a pretty big problem for a lot of folks. So the way that we solve that problem is we follow our very first rule. Now, YNAB has 4 rules of cash flow. And the first rule is give every dollar a job. Every single dollar gets a job, and you have to tell it what to do. So now what we want you to do is set up job descriptions for your money. Think about any employer. When you go into the grocery store, somebody has decided we need somebody at the cash register, we need somebody bagging groceries, we need somebody in the deli. Somebody has set up job descriptions, right? And in the software, we call these categories. So you're going to hear me refer to categories quite a bit during this hour today. So let's jump over to the software and take a look. I'm going to jump back over here to YNAB. I apologize for this poor screen. I don't know why it does this, but just on that little transition, it doesn't seem to be too happy. So I've got YNAB open on the screen here. And what we're going to do is I'm going to walk through a hypothetical situation with a family, maybe similar to yours. And we're just going to pretend that it's a 2-income household. And the husband gets paid on the first of the month, and his income is fixed. It doesn't change. He just gets $2,000 every month. The wife gets paid every month, twice a month. And her income is variable. We never know exactly what it's going to be. It's changing all the time. Maybe you're in that kind of a situation, right? All they have right now to start with is $280. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the checking account. And I'm going to click on the Add Account button right here. The first thing we want to do is enter income. So we're going to tell the budget about the $280 that we have in the bank. And let's just pretend it's July 4th, Independence Day, right? And it's a checking account, so I'm going to click Create Account. And the very first thing you'll notice is that I can now see the balance here on the left-hand side in the Account tab. And there's a starting balance transaction that's been entered for me. And it says it's been categorized as income for July. And this is one way that YNAB is very, very different than a lot of other financial software that you might use. We don't want to have you just entering income. We want to make sure that money gets to a place where you can put it to work. So we categorize, and that's how we communicate with the budget screen. So I just sent this $280 over to the budget. So let's go take a look. I'm going to click on the budget tab right here. And you can see we're in July, and you can tell it's July because of the yellow triangle right there that indicates the current month. And I have $280 available to budget. That's how much money I have to work with. So my first step 1 was to enter my income. Step 2 is to budget those dollars. So now I'm going to ask myself a really critical question. What does this money need to do before I am paid again? It's not a lot, but I still have to give it a job. And I'm not going to try to budget for everything. A lot of people try to jump in a little too far, a little too fast, and that's when you end up feeling overwhelmed. All I need to do is figure out what I'm going to do with this money right here. So I might think, well, all right, let's see. I know we need some groceries, and I'm not trying to budget for all the groceries for the month. I'm just trying to say, what does this money need to do before I get paid again? So I'm going to put $125 there, and you can see I now have $155 left, okay? And so now I also know that I need gas in the car to get to work, so I'm going to put $100 there. And I know we might need to pick up some things around the house, so I'm going to put that there. I didn't budget for the rent because I already paid the rent 4 days ago. I already paid the July rent, and it's already been subtracted from my bank balance. One thing that people get tripped up on is they try to go back in time and enter stuff retroactively, and it's always really tricky. Just start with what you have and move forward. You're going to find it's much easier, less overwhelming, and far more effective. So now I've got a 0 at the top here, and every single dollar has a job. All my money knows exactly what it needs to do. And so my third step is to just record my spending and follow this budget. I just want to make sure I spend according to this plan. This is a budget. I didn't budget for everything, but I do have a budget set up. So maybe I need to buy gas and groceries. So I'm going to record that. And I'm going to record that where it happened. It happened in my checking account. So I'm going to go over here. And we're going to say, okay, let's say maybe two days later on Friday, I decided I needed to go to the grocery store. That's who got my money. And I bought groceries. And let's say I spent $85 on groceries. And on the way home, I stopped at the gas station and put some gas in the car. Okay? And let's say $45 for gas. So you can see the account balance gets updated. Everything's good there, right? And if I look over here on the budget, I can see that the budget got updated as well. There's my spending. I had planned to spend $125 on groceries. I've spent $85. I've got $40 left until I get paid again, right? I plan to spend $100 on gas. I've spent $45. YNAB enters this field for me, and I've got $55 left. So you'll notice that this has allowed me to do a really, really important thing. And that's to prioritize. I just made sure that the things that need to be taken care of were taken care of. I prioritized. I didn't try to do too much and go crazy. I just said, what does this money need to do right now? Okay? And when you're able to prioritize, it helps. Because now all my spending decisions are going to be made by focusing on the budget. If I need to spend money, I'm going to check the budget instead of the bank balance. Think about that for a second. Does that sound familiar to you? Has anyone here? Let's get a true or false from the group. You can type over true or false. Have you ever made a spending decision by checking the bank balance? Honey, can you look in there and see? I want to go grocery shopping. I just need to know what the balance is in the checking account. Sound familiar? Can you check? I want to make sure we have enough to pay the light bill, right? And that's the way a lot of people make spending decisions today, but it's horribly inefficient and it's stressful. It's also, I think it makes it easy for you to spend because you're thinking, if there's money in there, I can spend it. When really, there might be money in there, but it might need to do another job for you. And you don't know if you haven't figured out what those jobs are and assigned that money to a job, okay? So this is a much better approach. Also, you notice that I followed a very clear process. There were just 3 very simple steps. I entered income, and then I budgeted that income, and then I followed the budget that I set up. That was it. The next time I get money, I'll enter that, and we're going to go through this in the demo. And then I'll budget those dollars. I might change my budget. I'm allowed to do that. I'm the master of my budget. I can make a change if I want to. And then I'm going to follow whatever that plan is that I set up. And I'm always asking myself, always, what does this money that I just got need to do before I'm paid again? Now that's going to solve a whole bunch of problems for you if you can use that first rule. But unfortunately, that's not all the problems, okay? There are other problems that people face that have a lot to do with uneven expenses, right? Maybe you feel blindsided when an unexpected expense comes along. Oh no, flat tire, how am I going to pay for that, right? And that can leave you feeling like you're on a financial roller coaster. You can just never save and get ahead, Oh, I would have been able to put a bunch of money in savings if it hadn't been for the car breaking down. If only this hadn't happened, we could have done that, right? But the real problem here is that you're not considering what we call your true expenses. So let's talk about that. Your true expenses are whatever you have to pay or want to pay right now. That's, your monthly bills, light bill, phone bill, groceries, rent, all that stuff, right? Plus whatever you have to pay or want to pay in the future. Let's be honest, not all bills come every month. Something like the car insurance comes every 6 months maybe, right? Or the car will break down, but we don't know when. But when you add those two things together, then you can get a really clear picture of your true expenses. So how can we manage that? How can we make that super easy? We use our second rule for that, and that says save for a rainy day. So let's talk about what a rainy day is. A rainy day is an expense that occurs outside of your normal monthly expenses. I'm sure you could think of a bunch right now as you're sitting here watching this, right? And I find that there are 2 types of rainy days. First, there are predictable rainy days. This is like, I know it's coming, right? I know that car insurance bill will be here, and I know the property taxes have to get paid every spring. These are big rainy days, big expenses, and I know when they're coming, and sometimes I know how much they're going to be. Then we have the unpredictable rainy days. These are the flash floods of your financial life, right? The car breaking down. Oh my goodness, the dog needs to go to the vet. We weren't expecting that. Those are the things that often blindside people quite a bit. So let me jump over to the software and we'll show you how this works. I'll jump back here to YNAB. And so let's pretend now that in our hypothetical family that I get paid. I just got my first paycheck in July. And it came on the 7th, and it was for $850. So here's how I'd enter that paycheck. I'm going to go over here to the checking account because that's where the money was deposited. And I'm going to add a new transaction. And we're going to say I got paid on the 7th. And let's just say Erin's paycheck. You know, some people use the payee field, you know, for who they gave the money to. And you can also use it for who gave you the money. So like it could say your employer there if you wanted it to. And now I have to decide how to use this income. And this is a very unique thing about YNAB. You either need that money right now or you don't. Okay, now I need this money to budget through the rest of July. So my two choices that I see for income are income for July or income for August. And you can see it's a July date, and that's what's causing those two choices. So I'm going to choose income for July, and we're going to say this was an $850 check. By the way, I use a lot of round numbers, folks, in the demonstrations just so that you don't have to do crazy math in your head while you're trying to learn. So there's my paycheck. My bank balance went up, and this money was sent over to the budget. So let's go back to the budget. And at the top, you can see I now have another $850 that I can budget with. I entered income. Second step, budget that income. So what does this money need to do before I get paid again? I know I need more money for groceries, so I'm going to change that. I am allowed to change my budget. I also know that we need a little more money for gas for the car, so I'm going to up that a little bit. And then, okay, my light bill and my phone bill are both due next week, so I'm going to budget for those. $80 for the light bill, $110 for the phone bill. And my car payment's due next week, so I'm going to put that in there too. Car payment $275. And now I'm going to start, now that my immediate bills are taken care of, and I know this is a very simple budget, but we only have an hour here, so I want to make sure I get through a lot. But now I have to think about other expenses that might not come for a while. So one of them is car insurance, and that bill's not due for 3 months. But I don't want to be blindsided in 3 months when it gets here. So I'm going to start saving for it now. So I'm going to put $75 in my car insurance category. I want to start saving for when the car needs work, so I'm going to put $60 there. And then I know the kids are going to need clothes, and I know we've got some birthdays coming up, so I'm going to put some money there. Now, all that money has a job. All my money's been given a job, and I've saved for some rainy days. I've got some balances I'm building up there. So I set some money aside as a part of my plan to take care of these rainy days because I know they're coming along. And then I just go along and update my budget as usual. I'm just following my budget. So if I have to pay some bills, I just do that. I go over here to checking. And I'm going to say, okay, on the 9th, I sat down and I paid a bunch of bills. I paid the electric bill. This money went to the electric company. And that was for $80. And then I also paid the phone bill. That money went to the phone company. And you can see I have to type everything out right now, but YNAB's going to get smart and it's going to learn about all these different things I'm doing. And I also paid the car payment. Whoops. And we'll put that in there, $275. Okay? And you can see my checking account balance gets updated and my budget gets updated. Okay? There it shows that I paid those bills. Now I want to talk a little bit about our Cloud Sync feature. How many of you guys are familiar with that? Let's just get a little feedback. How are we doing so far, by the way? Is this making sense so far? Just kind of check in and see how everybody's doing. Okay, so we have Cloud Sync, and what that does is it allows me or my spouse to enter on a mobile device, and I gotta tell you guys, it is absolutely magical. It will update things automatically. Things just automatically get updated, okay? So I'm going to demo this when we get going here a little bit. I have an iPad here, and I've got a little program that will let me show it to you on the screen, and I'm going to show you what happens when somebody enters spending on the go, because that's what we really want. We want you to be up to date and have both spouses or everybody in the household has the same exact information as far as the money's concerned, okay? So maybe what happens is on the 13th, my husband stops for gas, and he's got his iPad with him or his iPhone. I'm just going to use an iPad because that's what I have for demonstration purposes. So let me bring this up on the screen. And there it is. And I'm going to just make this a little bit smaller for you so that you can see. I want you to be able to see YNAB and the app. So let me give me 1 second here, and I'll pull this over a little bit. And we'll see if we can get that app back over. There it is. And I can make this a little bit smaller. And I've got my iPad here, and I'm going to enter things on the iPad, and you should see them appear on the screen, okay? So he stops for gas on the 13th, and he spends $55, and he enters it on the go while he's out and about, okay? So watch this. I'm going to click on the green plus sign. You want to be watching the iPad right here. I'm going to click on the green plus sign, and I'm going to say he's at the gas station. He's like, all right, I spent $55, and he starts typing in the payee, gas station. Okay, great. And it remembers the category that I entered in the software. Did you see that? It remembers this right here. It already did that, okay? Now I'm going to hit save, and we're going to see that that's going to appear over here in the register. And let's see how quick it happens. Here we go. Save. 1, 2, 3. There it is. Entered immediately so that I'm up to date. And if I had a phone, it would show up on my phone. And once all these devices are set up to sync, it's just that magical and it's just that fast. Now I'm going to enter some grocery spending here. Let me enter some grocery spending. That should have been the 13th. I'm just going to change that real quick, just so that I don't mess up my demonstration. I've got a little bit of a narrow screen here. Let me go back. There we go. I'll move this over a little bit. So I'm going to also get some, let's see, I'm going to buy groceries on the 15th, and I'm going to enter that here. And he's out, and he needs to know how much I've got on groceries. So I just say grocery store, and you can see my balance on groceries right here, okay? And I'm going to say $180 is what I spent. I hit save. Now, our programmers tell me that it can take about 20 seconds for it to sync. That's about the longest I've ever waited. And what happens is it takes about 5 seconds, or it could take about 5 seconds to get up to the cloud, and then the other device has to pull it down. So it just takes a little bit of time to update. But eventually I should be seeing a balance in groceries of $35. Okay, we're going to see that update on the other device. I find today it seems to be going a little slower for me the other direction, but when I enter on the device, it's real quick. You can tell if you've got, and I know my screen isn't real clear here, but it's got Dropbox running up here, and that's how you can tell. So it has to get pulled from one to the other to update. Now, if he updates again and he's out and about, it's going to come right back. It's going to work really hard to keep both up. There it is, both those devices in sync. So maybe on the 18th, he's out, and let's see. Let me get this. He's out, and he buys some stuff for the household, maybe $35. Maybe at Target. And we're going to say that's for household expenses. So I'm just going to kind of scroll down here and find it. And I'm using the Lite app, which is free, by the way. This is YNAB Lite for iPhone. Runs on the iPad in 2 times size. So there it is. I just entered that household expense, and we're going to eventually see that up. There it is. It's already been updated over here. So it's very quick. It keeps you right on the same page. So any of you guys have mobile devices, we have an Android app and we have an iPhone app, and that you can sync both of those, okay? So I just wanted to take a little bit of a second and demo that. Let me get this device off the screen here. So, does that seem like it might be useful to some of you? You don't have to hit a sync button. You don't have to do anything. Once you've got the initial setup done, it's just done, okay? I found it super useful. I was in New York City last weekend, and I didn't have my laptop out and about when I was shopping and stuff, but I had my phone, and I was able to enter on the go, and then when I get home, everything was just in the budget. It's great, okay? So just wanted to let everybody see how that worked. It's very, very magical. I think our guys did a great job on that. So anyway, let's go back to the slides here and talk a little bit about Rule 2, just kind of wrap up a few things here. So Rule 2, as you can see, helps you to anticipate bigger bills and expenses before they get here, okay? Now, what a lot of folks will say is, well, that's awesome and I can plan for those things, but there are still things that come up that I couldn't plan for, right? Because nobody has a crystal ball and you can't see perfectly into the future. And then when something goes wrong, you end up feeling like, see, I told you I couldn't stick to a budget, or how was I supposed to know? I tried to budget at the beginning of the month, and now I'm all thrown off because of this thing I just couldn't anticipate, right? Well, the truth is, we need to acknowledge the fact that it's true, you can't predict everything. And so we need some flexibility, right? And that's where Rule 3 comes in. And Rule 3 says, roll with the punches. If something goes wrong, we're just going to roll with it. I love this rule. Let's say I budget $25 for birthdays, for gifts, right? I'm doing great. But I end up, and I just go a little crazy at the store, and I end up spending $42.50. That's more than I had set aside. Now, the key point here is you didn't fail at budgeting. You just spent more than you intended to in one category. You might have a bunch of categories. Just overspent in one area. That's it. And it's not the end of the world. So what we're going to have you do is just roll with it. Let's jump over to the software and we'll take a look. So I'm going to do that same example with the birthday present so that you can see exactly what happens here, okay? So I'm going to go over to my checking account, and we're going to say I went to a fancy store. It's super fancy. And I bought a gift. I only have $25. You can see that right there. But I don't know, I just got a little crazy and I spent $42.50, okay? So let's go back to the budget and take a look at what happened. So you can see right down here I'm seeing a big red number, and that's YNAB's way of waving at you saying, you need to pay attention to this. Something went not according to plan. What are we going to do? But it's not a big deal. Remember what I said earlier, you can change your budget at any time, right? So what I'm going to do is I look around and I just said, well, I've got some money here in clothing, and I'm okay. We don't really need to buy anything right now. So I'm going to change this. I'm going to lower this so that I can make more money available. I'm going to change this to $7.50, and that made $17.50 available again, and now I can reassign that to gifts. Now people say, aren't you cheating? You just cheated. You didn't stick to your budget. I'm being proactive. I saw something happen and I adjusted. Or maybe, I made a conscious decision. It isn't even a mistake, right? It isn't a mistake that I bought this birthday present and spent more than maybe it was just, I got in there and I'm like, oh, I've got to get that. That's a conscious decision, and I'm an adult and I'm allowed to make that decision. And maybe even in the store, and this has happened to me, I'm in there, I'm thinking, well, I really want to get this, but what, and I'm thinking I'll look at my budget and I'll know, okay, I've got a little money here. I'll just adjust this later. And I just make an adjustment. That kind of flexibility is going to really help you stick to a budget. I'm telling you, it makes you feel that. So those of you that were saying earlier, I think of the word straitjacket, right? We don't want that. We want flexibility. We want you to have that kind of breathing room. And this allows you to adapt. As things change, you change too. Let's say it's Monday, and you look at the kids and you say, hey guys, we're going to go to the beach on Saturday, and we're going to have the whole day at the beach, and we're going to have an awesome time. And then Saturday morning you wake up, right? You've made this plan to go to the beach Saturday. You wake up and it's pouring and it's cold. Are you going to go to the beach? Of course not. You're going to change your plan. The situation changed, you changed with it. That's not cheating, that's smart. You go to a movie instead, right? You're just adapting to the situation. And I think good budget software has to allow you to do that. And so that's what Rule 3 does, okay? So I'm just going to roll with it. Just move a little bit of money from one category to the other, and you've solved the problem really, really quickly. Now, the last problem I think that a lot of people deal with is a lot of people are feeling like they have to time paychecks to bills. Or maybe some of your bills are late and you can't even pay them at all, right? And that leaves you feeling close to the financial edge. You ever have that conversation where like, boy, we'll be okay as long as nothing else goes wrong. We don't have any breathing room, right, for any mistakes, right? And that's very, very stressful to live that close to the edge. Has this ever happened to any of you? You can type over true or false. You get a bill in the mail and you open it and you think to yourself, I'd like to pay this, but it's just going to have to wait until we have money or until we get paid, right? And that's very, very stressful. So and it's very time consuming. It's very tedious to I'm juggling, okay, these bills are going to go with this check, and then when you get paid, if you get the bonus, then we'll put these bills over. It's time consuming, horribly time consuming, and very, very, very inefficient. So as you might imagine, we have our last rule that addresses this problem, and that is Rule 4. And Rule 4 says, live on last month's income. What we want you to do is work up to a point where you're living on the money that you earned last month. Now, this rule, for most people when they start, is a goal. You're not going to be there right away. You're going to work towards it, okay? But let's talk about how it works. So what's going to happen is the money that you earn in 1 month, say March, that's the money that you budget with in April. Meanwhile, in April, you're going to earn more money, and that's what you're going to use for May. Now, I know you're probably thinking, how does this work? And I'm going to go through it in the software. But I want to talk first about why this is a really good idea. Now there's no more guessing, right? A lot of people try to budget. I've seen people, maybe some of you started like this, right? You go right to the budget screen and you start assigning numbers. But nobody stopped to think, do we have that money, right? And so this eliminates that problem because you might not know what's going to come in this month, but you know what you made last month. Those figures have come and gone. Honey, how much did we make last month? Oh, it looks like we made $4,892.12. Great. I can make a plan on that, and I will be accurate. I'm not guessing, right? Now, all the money I need for the month is sitting in the bank on the first of the month. No more timing paychecks to bills. If you want to pay a bill, just pay it. That's it, you know. I never have to wait. You know, one of my favorite things about this for me is I hate to grocery shop on Friday and Saturday because the stores are crazy. And now I never have to worry about that. I can shop on Tuesday afternoon, and that's a little thing, you know, but I have control. I can make those decisions, and they're not tied to my paycheck, right? And don't forget, more paychecks roll in, and that's what gives you the cushion, and that's what removes you from that paycheck to paycheck cycle. So I want to show you this in the software. Now, this is a little bit of a longer demonstration here, but I'll promise we'll still have plenty of time for questions. So let's jump back over to YNAB. And let's say I got my next paycheck in the month, right? I get 2 paychecks in the month. So I'm going to enter my next paycheck, and that's going to be maybe on the 21st. Let's say Erin's paycheck. We need this to get through the rest of July. This check wasn't as good, but it doesn't matter because I'm only budgeting right now the money that I have. I'm going to work toward that point where I'm living on last month's income. Right now I have $650. I need to figure out exactly what I need to do with that money. So I'm just going to finish out a few things and tweak out the month a little bit. Let's put a little bit more toward groceries. We want to build up our car repair category a little bit, so we've got some more money in there. I'm going to add $60 to clothing to kind of build that back up since I had to use some of that. And then I'm going to put more money up here in the restaurant category. And you can see now that what's happened is I've already, I started this after I'd paid the rent, so I didn't have to worry about that. And now here I am near the end of July, and I've got $400 that's unemployed. I haven't assigned these dollars a job, right? But look what happens. Look at August. There they are. Any money that you don't assign to the current month, YNAB assigns to next month. And you'll hear people talk about this on the YNAB forums. We call it a buffer. I'm trying to build up a buffer. And I've got a buffer now of $400. That's money that I have that I'm not going to use in July. It just goes right over to August. And that's great. And then I'm just going to finish out the rest of the month here. So maybe we celebrate our first month of budgeting by going out to eat. And we're going to say restaurants. And we spent maybe $45. And things are pretty good. Okay. Maybe we spent, let's just change that a little bit. We'll say we spent 40. Okay. So I'm in really good shape here. And now I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to tweak a few things. I'm going to tweak some stuff and I'm going to say, I want to send this $85 that I didn't use for groceries. I'm going to send that over here. All I have to do is reassign dollars. If I lower the budgeted amount, I'm doing really well. I can get a little bit more money. And maybe I bring this down to 30. And now I've got $545. Maybe that's too much there. Let's just try that one more time. Okay, so maybe we've got a little bit there. We're kind of letting some of this go. And so now I've got $545 rolled into August. That's what I'm starting with on August. Now my husband gets paid. So let me enter his paycheck for August 1st. So we're going to say, okay, Joe's paycheck. And that's income for August. And he gets $2,000. Awesome. So I'm going to go back over here to the budget. And I'm going to make August the first month. And I have to decide what to do with this money. Look what my position is right now. I'm in a significantly better position than I was before. All right. So now I'm going to budget. I'm going to say, all right, well, I do need to pay the rent today. So I'm going to budget for that. What does this money need to do before I am paid again? And I'm just going to put some money to work. And we're going to budget for the bills, the car payment, Electric bill, I'm keeping an eye on that available to budget number. And you can see $430 left. And car insurance, I want to build up for those rainy days. I want to put some more money for car repairs. And let's see, maybe 155 there. And now let's say I've got a little bit left. I'm going to put some money for restaurants. And I'm going to finish out this section here. I'm prioritizing. I'm jumping around a little bit because I'm prioritizing. And I've given every single dollar a job. And then I just follow that and pay my bills. Now, let me show you how quick the entry is going to be for the bills now, because now YNAB has learned a lot of my payees. So I'm just going to tell you what keys I'm entering on the keyboard. I'm going to use a lot of shortcuts here. E, tab, 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 80, return. Tab. P for phone bill, tab. You remember the category, tab, tab. This came in a little under budget. 100, return. Tab, C, A, tab, 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 275, return. It's not a big task. Landlord, now I hadn't entered that one yet, so it's got to learn that one. Rent, 1200, return. Okay, bills are paid. That did not take me very long. And maybe that's all I had to do on the first. Maybe nothing happened again until the third. When I went back to the gas station, got some gas, I spent $55. And then we bought some groceries, whoops, and spent $135, okay? And you can see my bank balance gets updated. And now I've got another paycheck. So I'm going to enter my next paycheck. We did all of this budgeting so far in August with his check and the money that I rolled over from last month. So I'm going to say, okay, this is going to be my check, and that's going to be income for August. And let's say this check is $700, okay? And you can see my bank balance is starting to look really healthy. Now I've got money. I've got to go budget it. Step 2 is to budget. $700 available to budget in August. And so I'm going to just change a few things like I usually do. I'm going to tweak that. And we need a little more money for gas. I put a little more money there. We're going to take clothing up to, we want to get that up a little bit. School clothes are coming up soon, right? And then car repairs, I'm going to change that to 200 so that we've got some money rolling forward. So now I have $430 rolling into September. Again, I'm in a great position, okay? And now I'm just going to pay a few other bills. Expenses come up. I'm just going to enter a few more things here real quick. Maybe we have groceries again on the 9th. And maybe this time it was 230. And then maybe we went to Walmart and bought some clothes for the kids. And maybe I spent $90. And then some gas. Whoops. Typing a little too quickly for myself here. And $50 there, and then maybe we went out to eat again. You know, we've got some money set aside for that. It's okay. We don't even have to feel bad about it, okay? So now if we look at how the month is wrapping up, things are good. I've got some surpluses here in a few areas. I'm building up some rainy day funds. And now I've got one more check, but I don't need that check, right? I've entered a whole bunch of income for August. I've let $430 roll into September. And now I'm going to get a paycheck, my last August check, and I don't need it for August. So what I'm going to do here is, this is really neat. This is a very pivotal moment for a lot of people. A lot of folks will write to us and tell us the first time this happens for them, okay? I enter my next check, Aaron's check, and I get to that moment. I'm like, do I need this right now? And the answer is no, I don't. I don't need this. So I'm going to choose income for September. I'm going to say, you know what? And this is what I'm saying to these dollars. This is how much control I have right now. I'm saying, you know what, guys? I don't even need you right now. I want you to go over to September and wait for me, and I'll get to you later. Now, wouldn't you like to feel like that much control over your dollars, right? So this is a paycheck for $1,000, and it's just going to sit in my bank account. Do you see how irrelevant my bank balance is to my decision-making process? I'm spending all my energy over here. So now if we look at September, at the top of September, I have $1,430 before September is even here. That's my buffer going into September. And that is a great position to be in, okay? So now I'm just going to wrap up the month, and I'm going to look over here and I'm going to say, well, you know, the groceries and restaurants came in under again, so let's lower that. Let's get that down so that I have even more money going over to my buffer. My phone bill came in under, so I'm going to lower that and send a little more money. Now I've got a buffer of 15.15. Okay? That's how much money is rolling over into this month. And this is a great position to be in. Now, on the 1st of September, my husband gets paid. So let's enter his paycheck, 1st of September. I'm almost through with my demonstration, folks. Income for September, $2,000. That gets added to all the other money in September. There was $515 I rolled over, right? Then I had a check that I sent to September. He had a check. Now I've got $3,500 here to budget with in September. This is a great position to be in. In fact, now I don't need to prioritize. I don't need to worry about making sure I take care of one thing first. I can take care of the whole month. So I can use what we call the quick budget feature. I'm going to go right up here. See this lightning bolt? I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to say I want to copy the budget from last month. I'm going to use that as a starting point. Okay? And it's going to fill it in. And so I'm going to budget. I budgeted for the whole month here, and I still have $785 that's rolling into the next month. I'm still ahead. Now, I want to just wrap up a few rules here because I do want to take some questions. So you've seen rule 1. You see how every dollar gets a job, right? You see how we save for these rainy days. Well, I've been saving for car insurance for 3 months. So now it's time to pay the car insurance. Look how much I've saved. $75 every month, and I have $225. So when I pay that car insurance bill, whoops, I didn't mean to close that. It's so easy. I just go here, and I say car insurance people, company, whatever we want to call it, car insurance, and I'm going to say $225. And if you look at September, it's paid painless. I didn't have to live on noodles for the whole month to pay that bill. It's great, okay? So that's rule 2. You saw rule 3. You saw me be flexible and adjust when something went wrong with that birthday present. I made a choice. I just adjusted and adapted. Not a big deal at all, right? And now, here's the really powerful point. I'm all the way through September's budget. I've got $785 rolling into October. I haven't entered any of my paychecks, right? So let me enter my paychecks. I'm not going to do any more budgeting for the month. I just want you to see what happens here. Because this is how it happens for folks. I'm going to enter these both at the same time. Let's say one of these checks is for $900. Actually, let's say they're both for $900. And then the next one was maybe a couple weeks later. And we'll say another $900, okay? And so that's all happening in September, but I'm sending that money over to October. So now when I start October, before we've even entered his paycheck, we've got $2,500. Well, gosh, I budgeted $27. I could almost live on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quick budget, copy the budget again. Now it's not enough, so I'm going to be over budget. I'm over by $145. All I need to do is find $145 and budget less, and I can get through the whole month of October without touching a check. We don't need that much for clothing. In fact, I want to pull another $45 out of clothing, and I can't lower this anymore unless I go below 0. Well, what's lower than 0? A negative number. So I'm going to type in a negative number. I still have money for clothing. I got through the whole month. Now in October, every check he gets is going to go to November. All my checks, everything goes to November. We're ahead. We're living on last month's income. And that's when it gets really, really powerful. And what this rule can do is it can really help you to secure things financially. This is the final step, to secure everything and really lock everything down, okay? So now 4 rules. Every dollar gets a job. We save for rainy days, for those bigger expenses. If something goes wrong, don't worry about it. You're just going to roll with the punches. And you're going to get to a point eventually where you can live on last month's income. Definitely worth aspiring to. Now, I want to go over the last biggest problem that people often tell us about. This is the biggest obstacle why people don't budget. And I want you to think about this, and I want you to think about your current situation right now. People will say, I don't want to feel restricted and controlled by the budget. Maybe you felt like that when you came in here today, right? I don't want to feel restricted. Some of you said that word. I don't want to feel controlled. Look at your current financial situation now and ask yourself this question. How do you feel now? If you get a bill and you can't pay it, that's controlling. If you need groceries and you can't pick them up, That's restrictive, okay? My premise to you is what I would put to you is that it's not the budget that's restrictive, it's the lack of a budget, okay? A good budget is not restrictive and controlling. It's a liberating financial tool that can help you line up your spending with the things that are really important to you. So I want to open the floor for questions, but give me a little quick feedback. How was that? Did that make sense? Did that make you feel like you have a better understanding of what we're all about? All right, looks like people are feeling pretty good about it. And let me just kind of clear up the question queue here. And I'm going to work my way through questions here. So go ahead and fire some over. We'll work through them one at a time, as much time as we've got here. Tyler is asking, he says, we don't set up budget accounts for savings accounts, do we? These accounts would not be used as part of the budget. Actually, Tyler, we recommend that you do, and we actually have a video on that. And I'm going to send you guys to a page that we call the Helpful Links page, and it's got a whole bunch of links to things that I think a lot of new people really would benefit from. But in a nutshell, Tyler, what I would say is if you had a savings account, this is what I would do. Let's say I had a savings account and I had $500 in there, okay? I'm going to set up the account. And you can see by default, it's a budget account. And now I know what your concern is. You're thinking, yeah, but I don't want to use that money for groceries. I don't want that to get lost. I don't want that to get lost and become, money that I spend on the light bill. So what you do is you go over to the budget and you make a category for savings. And I think this is incredibly powerful. Once you've got the master category, you say, what am I saving for? Have you ever had a savings account and you find yourself always robbing from it? This was me, right? I've saved it, but now I need it. So I'd put $50 in there on a paycheck, and then 2 weeks later I'd be pulling it back out because I didn't make it to the paycheck. Sound familiar? It's because I wasn't being specific enough about what I was saving for, right? So now my savings account looks something like, my savings part of the budget looks something like this. I put some money there, maybe half of my 200 of my 500, right? And then I've done things like this, saving for a new iPad, saving for a new car, right? And you can assign dollars there. They're protected. The budget protects them. Because the only way you're going to spend is by making decisions looking at the budget. You see what I'm saying, Tyler? So the only way I'm going to buy groceries is I'm going to look at this category. Oh, we're all set for groceries. Or I have to make a decision and change my plan, right? But that's basically, that's a Reader's Digest version, but that's how you handle savings. And I'm going to send you a link where you can watch a video on that that will give you a lot more detail, okay? So Kate is asking, isn't it duplication if you enter everything in your budget and import your credit card statements? How do you reconcile? That's a great question, Kate. What I personally do is I try to enter some of the stuff manually, but inevitably I'm human and I forget. So once or twice a week, I just import from my bank. And when you import into YNAB, you download your bank statement, like a Quicken file, we can open that. Microsoft Money, we can open that. QIF, we can open that. And I always just tell my bank, you can usually choose a date range when you download. And so what I usually do is I usually just choose the last 30 days. Doesn't matter because I know YNAB is not going to import something it already imported last Tuesday, right? It's going to catch all those duplicates. And that just makes sure that I don't miss anything. I like to enter kind of on the go or quickly because I want to stay on top of things. I think people who want a budget where they want to set it and forget it, I don't know if you want to do that with your money. You know what I'm saying? I want to be on top of it. I want to know how much I've got and if I'm sticking to my plan. So I just import as a safety measure just to make sure. And, the old days, you used to get a statement once a month, right? And then you would go through the whole list, and then you're trying to remember, oh, gosh, I wrote that check on the 3rd. It was for $47, and I don't remember what it was. Those days are gone. We live in an online world now where you could reconcile every day. We have people that do. So, and like my sister-in-law does it differently. She doesn't enter anything manually. She just records, and from the importing, she imports a couple times a week to keep on top of things, and that's working for her. So I would never say there's one way to do it and one way not to do it. It's got to be what works best for you. Lorraine says, should I budget more than a month at a time? My guess, Lorraine, is that you want to kind of forecast a little bit, right? How many of you are feeling like that? Like you're looking, that's good. I understand what she's saying. I should only budget the money I have, but I really wish I could kind of look ahead a little bit, or I want to get kind of a baseline budget, and I want to, I want to know if I'm sticking to that. I don't want to tell you to budget money you don't have because that feels like a little risky to me. But what a lot of people will do is they will put the amount that they're shooting for their baseline right in the name of the category. So I might say groceries, I'm trying to keep that around 400. And restaurants, I don't want that to be more than 100. And now, no matter where I am, what month I'm in, I know what my goal is that I'm shooting for. And I was under here, I can kind of see and compare. So that's what I would recommend. Aubrey's asking, what are scheduled transactions? Scheduled transactions are, a scheduler is a way for you to enter things that happen in the future. And this is another way you can kind of keep track of things. If you look at every single account has a scheduled transactions window, and if I click on this little calendar icon, it drops down, and you can see these little arrows right here. I can even pull it up so I can see it more. And this is where I enter future transactions. Now, this is like a holding tank. I don't want to give you any illusions. You're not budgeting in here, and these transactions will not affect your bank balance. This is like the on-deck circle in baseball. Dressed and swinging, but not in the game, okay? So I might say, okay, my light bill comes out every month, and that money goes to the electric company, and it's always on the 20th, and it's always for $80. And so what happened right now? Nothing. It's just there, and I can see, and by the way, you can customize the fields. See this little plus sign right here? I can say I don't want that memo, and that gives me a little more horizontal space here. And so you can sort these if you get a bunch of them in there by date. And then what's going to happen is nothing until the 20th, or this probably should have been a different day because today's the 20th. But, you know, on the 21st or whatever, it's going to enter it for me up here in the register. This date will reset to August 21st because the frequency is monthly. And it will always enter them for me. When they pop up, and I don't have any way to demo this, I'm sorry, they will have a little blue graphic next to them that you just have to click on it and approve them. It's just, we don't want to do anything that takes away your awareness, right? So when when the software enters it, it's kind of saying, hey, you told me that this was going to happen today, and I just want to make sure that's right. And it's just very quick, okay? You still have to budget for it, but it's a great place to keep a list of all your bills, and you can sort chronologically, and a lot of people find that really helpful, okay? Leanne says, I'm wondering how to use this for small business as well as personal. We have two accounts or all together. I have a little side business, Leanne, and what I do is I have two separate budget files. This file is called template because I just use it for the class today. But you can go here and you can go file, create a new budget, and you can have one, like I have one called like my household budget, Erin's budget, and then I have another one with the name of my business. And so I just kind of go back and forth between those two. I just think it's cleaner that way. I don't want to, mix. And then when I take money out of the business to pay myself, I have a category in the business called payroll, and I budget, to that. And when I get ready to pay myself, it's an outflow from that file, and I categorize it as payroll. Then I open up my personal budget, and I just call it as income coming in, and then I'm good to go. And that seems to work pretty well. It's simple, and it keeps the two things really clear. And let's see, Marianne is asking, and Tyler is also asking about credit cards. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the hour, I'm not going to be able to get into credit cards today. It's a little bit too big of a topic to do in the last few minutes here. But we have a recorded a recorded video what covers everything about credit cards. I'm going to give some links out in just a minute. And we also run a live credit card class a couple times a month, and all our live classes are free, so you can sign up for that. And credit cards are definitely tricky just by the nature of the beast. Credit cards, I think the companies design them to be tricky, to get the best of you. But our approach is that you can learn to use a credit card without incurring any debt. And so that's kind of what we teach. And I'll get you that link in a little bit, and you can sign up for that class if you want to. If I try to do a little bit today, then it's just you're going to have 50 questions that we don't have time for. You can do it. It handles it really well. It's also, if you have a credit card you use for everything and you just pay it in full every month, this works beautifully with YNAB. So watch that video. I'll give you the link in just a minute. Jonathan says, my wife and I have a joint checking and individual accounts. Do you recommend putting the individual accounts on budget? I think you have to ask yourself what those are for, Jonathan. If that's just your spending money and her spending money, I don't know if I would. You know what I mean? I think it's really up to you. Or what you might find is that if you could let the budget do all of the work and you only need the one account and you learn to live by the budget, and then you don't need those accounts. When I started YNAB, I had a ton more accounts than I do right now. I had like 8 savings accounts. I don't need that. Now I have one savings account and I have a bunch of savings categories. And that's much simpler. You should see, like, a lot of people will have, I see people with 10, 15, 20 accounts. You're just creating a ton of work for yourself. Really look at it and ask yourself, why are you using all these different accounts? If it's like, well, we do groceries and gas out of this account. Well, you're budgeting through the accounts. You won't need that anymore once you've got the budget. The budget can really simplify that quite a bit. Michael's asking, will we be able to rewatch this webinar? Is it downloadable? Boy, that's a perfect question, Michael, because the truth is, we have one recorded webinar, and it was for YNAB 3, and this is the day that I'm actually recording the one for YNAB 4. So this will probably be up online Monday, and then this will just be the one that we send people when they want to watch a recording. So you're just lucked out that you happen to attend that one. So check over on our class page, maybe on Monday, and the link will be over there, okay? Michael says, what are hidden categories? Hidden categories are categories that you don't need anymore, so you hide them when you're done. Like, say you paid off the car. You don't want to keep staring at that car payment, right? So you just hide it, and if you needed to see something again, you could. So if I pay off the car, I click on it, I hide it, and it's gone. But I don't want to delete it because it had data associated with it. But if I needed to see it again, I go down here and I hover, and I can bring it back into view. That's all it is, okay? Just a way of cleaning up the screen when you're done with something. Michael also says, it sounds like it would be a good idea to avoid the ATM machine to control your spending. Well, what I do is I allow myself a little bit of spending money, Michael, and I have a category called spending money, and I budget a little bit there, and whenever I take money out of the ATM, I just record it and I tell the budget, that was for my spending money. Now the budget knows it's gone, and now I have 20, 30 bucks in my pocket that I can just spend, and I don't need to come back to the budget and tell it everything that it was for. You see what I'm saying? Some people treat cash like an account, like a checking account, and record every single transaction. That did not work for me. But this does. Any cash, I just record it at the moment I take it out, tell the budget it's gone, and then I just spend it on whatever I want. I limit that. I budget for it, but that's how I do it. We got a few more questions here, and then I'll do some wrap-up stuff. Daniel says, is there a way to to transfer money from one budget file to another budget file? Not directly, Daniel. Sort of what I was describing to Leanne about the business budget, where I take it as payroll out of one budget and then as income into the other one. That's the best way to do it. And then Pamela says, this is the last question I'll be able to take today, folks. She says, if I use one checking account for household expenses and small business expenses, can I still have two separate budgets? When I download my checking account info, how can I separate those? Well, what you could do, Pamela, is, in that case, I would not probably separate it. I'd keep it in one file because the account is going to be in one file. But I would make one master category on the budget screen called business. And then underneath that, make a bunch of categories that are just for your business. You see what I'm saying? So you're going to separate it, but you're not going to separate different accounts. You're going to separate it on the budget side. Okay? The reason why I'm getting a 3-month view here, Gail, is because I've got it stretched across the monitor that allows me to see 3 months. If I was to minimize this and make it skinnier, see what it kind of adjusts. If you have a big enough monitor, you can see, I think, 5 months. Some people say they can see 5 months. So I'm just stretching it. That's all I'm doing. So let me do some wrap-up stuff with you guys. I'm in charge of the education at YNAB, and I'm really proud of what we offer. All our training and education online is free. So if you go to our support page, youneedabudget.com/support, you can go right to that training and education page, and there's a bunch of resources for you there. Okay, I wanted to let you be aware of that. We have an awesome community forum. Have any of you guys been to the community forum? I don't know if you have. It's a super, super community. They are so nice. Carrie says, I love the forums. Nobody will be mean to you over there. Everybody's been down the same road. They love helping. And actually, that's the first place I send people when they have a question or need help. If you need help today, you have a question, follow up after this, go right to the forums. They love to help, and you'll get a bunch of different perspectives, so it's a really good place to go. I'm going to give you a little link to a survey so that you can give me some feedback on how I did today. If I can just figure out which one of these is Chrome. Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to give you this link, and I'm actually going to give you guys a bunch of links. Now, you're going to get a follow-up email from GoToWebinar in about an hour, and it's going to have a lot of these links in it. So don't worry if you don't want to grab them right now. If you do, you should be able to click on them, and they should just open in a browser. So if you could take 30 seconds and give me some feedback today, that would be super. I actually have not taught this class in a while, so would love some feedback. if you want to purchase YNAB. We'll get to that in a second. Here is where you can download some class materials, including a copy of the presentation I used today. And this is all going to come out in a follow-up email. So these are all our presentations from our classes. And this is the one that I really want you to bookmark, okay? This is our helpful links page. And I'm going to send that over now too. And you can see that that's where we show you how to get to the education, learn about the mobile apps. These are some videos that a lot of new users really benefit from. So creative category organization, cash, snowballing your debt. These are some recorded classes that we did, some longer videos. You might find those really helpful, and some really important help articles. So that's a great page to go and get to a lot of resources, okay? I'll jump back here. There we go, okay? So one more thing I just want to go over real quick. We did a survey quite a while ago and asked people, based on how long you were using YNAB, what was your financial turnaround? How did things change for you financially? And this is what folks told us. After the first month, their financial situation improved by $200. That pays for itself in the first month. After 3 months, that number jumps to $450. At 6 months, it jumps to $850. And people told us at the 9-month mark, the average turnaround was $3,300, meaning they either paid that off in debt or saved that. So that's a great return on an initial investment. I'm not going to lie, obviously we're hoping you'll buy. And you can also download, if you haven't already, the free 34-day trial. And let me just give you a link to the store. And all of this is going to come out in that email that's coming out in about an hour, okay? It goes out to all the people that attend. So, if you have further questions after today, you can either email us at support@youneedabudget.com or at this email address here, webinars@youneedabudget.com. Those come to me, and I work Monday through Friday, so you can check that out if you have a follow-up question, okay? So are people feeling better? Are you guys feeling like a budget is more of a positive thing now than it used to be? And Camille, you can reconcile with this, and we do have a video on that as well, okay? Okay, great. All right, folks, I'm going to let you guys go. It's the weekend here, and I know a bunch of you are probably trying to get to the weekend. I'm glad that you were able to come today. We also run a budget workshop where we help people set up their files, so if you want some help with that, you can join us for that class. We have a credit card class. We have a bunch of great teachers that do a super job and just love helping people. So thanks for being here today, and we hope to see you again in another YNAB webinar. Have a great weekend, folks.